Here are the tools that you're going to need to do the install. You can have a pair of channel locks, a 1/2-inch wrench, a 9/16 socket, a 1/2-inch socket, and a pair of snips. If you don't have a little ratchet driver, then a 9/16 wrench and a 1/2-inch wrench or a equivalent socket will do the job. We want to remove the factory discharge chute. This takes a 1/2-inch wrench. I found it easier to remove this end first with the spring. Set that up out of your way, then lift the flap, take this last bolt out, set the chute aside. Now we're going to install the no drill mount. Included should be the mount, 2 5/16 by 1 carriage bolts, 2 5/16 by 1 3/8 bolts, and the nuts to go with them. When you install this mount, these holes go to the top. Carriage bolt goes from the inside. There's 2 existing holes on the deck that you will put these into. We'll use a 1/2-inch wrench to tighten these up. With the no drill mount installed, the next thing we're going to do is install the hinge plate itself. I'm going to use our 3/8 carriage bolts for this. When you do this, make sure that you have the spring and the spring mount above this plate. This takes a 3/8 wrench. We run these down close, but don't tighten them up all the way until we get the flap positioned properly. With these bolts snugged up, then take your knee, press it against the hinge plate itself and hold it in tight against the face and then tighten them up. Now we're going to go ahead and position the spring mount. So the first thing we have to do is remove this nut and bolt. We're just going to start this on loosely. And we will finish tightening this when we install the cable. Now we're ready to go ahead and connect the cable to the spring mount. The first thing we're going to do is pull this rubber boot off. We're going to spin jam nut number 1 all the way off. Jam nut number 2 is going to go about halfway. Slip the wire into the slot and put the fitting in place. And then put jam nut number 1 back on. You can finger tighten this, will be fine. Now, we're going to go ahead and tighten up this bolt that positions our spring mount now that we've got our cable laying here in the direction we want it. Now we're going to go ahead and put the pedal onto a sit-down mower. So the first thing we're going to do is situate the pedal up on the front left corner using the bolts provided, which would be a 1-inch carriage bolt. We're going to go ahead and secure the pedal to the foot pan itself. Now we're going to talk about the cable routing, just so you know where it's going to go before you connect it to the pedal. So you're going to route it along the outside edge of the frame, just inside the spring, then go back up underneath the seat. There's a little bracket here, connects the battery on. You may not find that exact spot on, depending on the size of your mower, but somewhere up underneath there you want to hang it up so it stays out of the pulleys, and then come over and have it connected to the GrassFlap itself. So now that you understand where the cable needs to be routed, then the next thing we want to do is go ahead and talk about connecting the cable to the pedal itself. Step one is going to be pull the rubber boot off the end of the fitting, spin nut number 1 all the way off the fitting, and then set nut number 2 so that it's a thread or two from being all the way on. Then we're going to go ahead and release the spring off the inside of the pedal, slip the wire into the slot, slide the fitting into that hole, and then go ahead and put jam nut number 1 back onto the fitting. We're going to slide the rubber boot back onto the fitting as well. And we'll go ahead and run those jam nuts down to where they're snug. Now we're going to come back and connect the cable itself to the pedal using the clevis, the slotted clevis provided. So we're going to reach in here and connect that clevis. So we'll go ahead and get that lined up and use the 1/4-inch pin provided. We're going to go ahead and connect the clevis to the pedal itself. Sometimes that spring gets in the way. You want to slide it over so it's out of the way. Allow the pedal to come fully closed. Go ahead and put the cotter pin in. When you do this, you're going to want to spread the cotter pin, split it, and then wrap it around both directions. We'll go ahead and connect the spring. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten the jam nuts up on the threaded fitting itself. So just snug those up. You don't have to make them super tight. Now we're going to go ahead and connect to the spring mount. So open loop goes to the top. It's going to connect here onto the spring bolt. She's using a small pair of channel locks or something similar. I'm going to go ahead and pull, hook this on. Spring should be all the way out to the end of this bolt. And then if you notice when you open and close, the spring does rub the head of this bolt, which is supposed to do that. And this allows the whole flap here to shift toward the back of the mower. We're ready then to install the cable itself to the mount. So we're going to take our remaining hardware. You should have left a little bronze bushing, a 3/16 pin, and a cotter pin. So the 3/16 bushing slips into this hole. The clevis itself goes over that bushing. And then when you install this 3/16 pin, you want to make sure the head of the 3/16 pin is on the same side as the spring. So using your left hand, insert the pin in through the bronze bushing. Position your cotter pin. You want to go ahead and bend your cotter pin all the way over. Once you have the cable connected on the flap end, then you want to go ahead and snug the jam nuts on the cable fitting itself. You don't have to over tighten these, and go ahead and make sure that the rubber boot is back in place where it belongs. Here we have a Wright standard ZK 52-inch with a GrassFlap installed on it. Push and release to close it, push and release to open it, or I can close it and then feather it anywhere I want by holding my foot on the pedal. Great thing is you can control the lawnmower and drive while operating the GrassFlap.